Hello everyone. The topic for today is implicit differentiation. So the whole reason we have implicit is for problems where the y is not alone. Like in this first example, here's a y, here's another y. It's just the y is all mixed in with the x's. It's not written out y equals something. If it was, then we wouldn't even have to use implicit. But we do have to use it for this first problem. And the main thing to remember is that every time you get to a y and you're taking the derivative of that y, right next to that you write dy dx. Or we could even just write y prime. Those two things mean the same thing. So dy dx or y prime. I think I'll write y prime just because it's a little shorter to write that. So I just start taking the derivative. This first term, 3x squared, the derivative is 6x. There's no y in that, so nothing special happens. Now the derivative of 4y squared is 8y. That part's normal, but that was a y. So we multiply by y prime right next to it. Plus, okay, now this we're going to have to use the product rule. So I'm going to write this out just so it's not confusing. Let's think of the 2x as u, and let's think of the y as v. And just over to the side here, I'm going to jot down what u prime would be and what v prime would be, just in case you're having any trouble piecing together the product rule. So since u is 2x, u prime would just be a 2. V was the letter y, so v prime would be 1, but then because it was a y, we have to write y prime. So now let's go back up here, and you know the product rule is u times v prime plus v times u prime. So that's the order I'm going to do it in. So u, which is 2x, times v prime, which we wrote down below, was 1 y prime. So I'm just going to write y prime. I'm going to leave off the 1. Then plus v, which we underlined was the y, and then times u prime, which we wrote to the side, was the number 2. Then the equal sign, and then the derivative of 8 is 0. That's important. A lot of people get so caught up in doing like all this difficult work that they write equals 8 by accident. But the derivative of 8 is 0. All right, so this is what we've got. Just going to erase that. Now the next step is to get the y primes alone. So what I always do first is start moving anything that does not have a y prime, like this 6x. I can subtract 6x over to the other side. And if you look, we have this y times 2, same thing as 2y. Think of it that way. So I'm going to subtract 2y to the other side also. So now that's going to be gone, and that's going to be gone. So I'm going to rewrite everything. 8y y prime plus 2x y prime is now equal to negative 6x minus 2y. Okay, now this next step, we're going to factor out a y prime. Even if you can take more than that out, you don't want to. So just take out a y prime, which would leave us with 8y plus 2x in parentheses, and then our final step is to get y prime alone. We will divide by the 8y plus 2x on both sides. And that's basically my answer, but I'm noticing that every term can be divided by 2, just like reducing. So my y prime, if I divide each and every term by 2, is going to become negative 3x minus 1y over 4y plus 1. Okay, always remember, if you divide a number by itself, it's 1, not 0. So many times I see people just leaving off the number, not even writing the 1. So this will be a final answer for problem number 1. Now, problem number 2 is pretty much the same thing, but they're also asking us to write the tangent line to the graph at the given point. They keep asking you tangent line problems all year long in calculus. You just have to remember the 2 steps, that to write the equation of a tangent line, you need slope. So you'll need slope at the point. And anytime in calculus that you're finding slope, that means that you're going to take the derivative. And the second thing that we're going to do is actually they gave the whole point, 1, -2. So then after we get our slope, we can just write our answer in point slope form. So let's just do number 1, which is taking derivative. Here's our equation. We're going to use implicit because the y is all mixed in here. So I'm going to recopy this. We have xy squared plus x squared y equals 2. Okay, we're going to have to do the product rule twice in this one. So right here, think of that as u, and think of this as v. So let's write this to the side again. U prime is just going to equal 1. V prime is going to be 2y, y prime. And then we can piece that portion together. So u times v prime plus v times u prime plus, all right, now we need to do this part. So this will be u and this will be v. So let's write this to the right hand side here. So u prime in that term will be 2x and v prime will be 1 and then y prime, since that was a y. So now doing the product rule again, u, we're doing it for this right here. So u, which is x squared, times v prime, which was 1 y prime, I'll just write that, plus v, which was the y, u prime, which is 2x, and then equals 0 again, because there was just a 2 on the other side. The derivative of 2 is 0. Okay, so now just like before, I am going to move anything that does not have a y prime in it. So right here, that means I'm going to subtract y squared, and this part, I'm going to write it in a different order, but I'm going to subtract 2xy. So that's both of these things to this side. So I'm going to subtract y squared and also subtract 2xy. So that's going to be gone, and that's going to be gone. That's going to leave me with, I'm going to rewrite things in a little different order, just like putting the x before the y. So 2xy, y prime, plus x squared y prime equals negative y squared minus 2xy. Then we're on the step where we factor out a y prime. So that leaves us 2xy plus x squared. And then we just have our same stuff over here. And then divide both sides by 2xy plus x squared to get the y prime alone. Okay, so then this is canceled, and then we have y prime. I copied it onto the next page here. So this is the part that's canceled. So this is what y prime equals. Negative y squared minus 2xy over 2xy plus x squared. All right, and I also recopied the question. So here's what we were trying to do. We were finding the slope. So now we plug in this point. This is our x and our y that we can plug in. So now y prime is going to be negative, parenthesis, the y is a -2, so keep that in parentheses, minus 2 times the x times the y all over 2 times the x again times the y plus the x squared. Just keep each individual number in its own parenthesis. That way any negatives will be properly squared and multiplied and all that. So my answer here is going to be negative on the outside times a 4, and then these three numbers that's going to be minus a negative 4. So I'm just going to put plus 4. And then all over negative 4 plus 1. So actually the top is ending up being 0 over negative 3. And that's fine, but that's just 0. So this number right here, that is our slope. And I always write tangent lines in point slope form, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. The teachers are usually always fine with that. They probably taught it that way themselves. So then we plug in our point, which was y minus a negative 2, equals our slope, m, which came out to 0. I'll write all of this, even though that's a 0, and then x minus the x coordinate, which is 1. But what's really happening in this problem, we get y plus 2 just equals 0 on that side, because 0 times anything is 0. So if you want to get y alone, it's just one simple step. You could just write y equals negative 2. So this is actually the final answer. It's the equation of the tangent line. Now, you know, a lot of times your slope is not 0, so a lot of times your answer would look more like this line, and that's fine, and you can just leave it like that and circle it. But yeah, this is our answer because our slope was 0. And that's everything.